DJ in the house.
Hmm. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Open Dialogue, the number one podcast based out of Utah Valley, a podcast dedicated to exploring religion, relationships, reflections on the world, and everything in between. Most importantly, promoting a safe, open space for no filter discussion where every voice matters. I'm your host, Samson. Thank you for listening or watching, but most importantly, spending some time with me this afternoon. Allow me to introduce the guest joining me today. Born in Baltimore and raised in Boise, Idaho, Jeff is a globetrotter with rich life experience, including 7 years in Africa. Now based out of Utah, he's a professional with a passion for public relations and wealth building. After starting his career in a PR post graduation from Utah Valley University, Jeff chose the freelance path. He's coached high school students as well as training athletes alongside. This is a mountain of a man. I'm pretty tall, but like if I feel small next to him. And currently he serves as the public relations director for Chris Crone, sharing a mission to illuminate the ever evolving landscape of the wealth building community. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Jeffrey Mann.
Thank
Dude,
you. Thank you
welcome.
for having me.
Of course. Of course. Thank you for being here.
Of course.
I appreciate it a lot. I just wanted to kind of get right into it and ask you, um, public relations. What led you down that path?
So, I went to Utah Valley University for public relations. Graduated. That was my major. Marketing was my minor. I always found myself connecting and talking with people. And so I had a professor who was like, "Hey, you should try out one of my classes." And so went to one of his classes, loved it.
Mm.
And I was like, "This is where I fit. It's where I excel. I never shut up. I talk all the time." And it was like everything synced up. And so I jumped into PR. Like you said, I started off at a PR agency.
Okay.
Then pandemic hit, and so we started working from home. I branched out on my own, and then I've been freelance. And about a year and a half ago, Chris Cron's team was looking for someone in PR. They reached out to me, and it was just a seamless fit.
It's
And I've
beautiful.
been with him ever since, and it's been opportunities to connect, travel, network. It's been amazing.
That's awesome. I'm not familiar with Chris Crone. I'm sure a lot of people listening are not as well. Like, what are you now doing with Chris?
So Chris is big in the real estate space,
Mm.
single family homes, wholesaling. He has a big presence on social media, so YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. What I do is I do two things. So one, I connect him to speak on stages, speak on podcasts. I help to get articles published on him, put him out in the news, create interviews for him. The other thing I do is I've become his buffer. So if
Okay.
someone wants to connect, network, meet with him, I'll meet with them first
Okay.
and see, are they a good fit? What are they interested in doing? And then I'll take them to Chris and, hey, this is a fit. And if they're not, then I won't pass them over to him.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's cool. And I actually did do a little bit of research into like just like the real estate business and stuff. So when it comes to public relations, you're interacting, I'm assuming, a lot with other people.
Yeah.
You're meeting people from all different walks of life. What has that meant to you? What have you found joy in that in doing that?
It has been fun because I'll give you an example. Last year, I was able to go to Austin, Texas, Orlando, Florida, Nashville, Tennessee, Miami, Florida, and meet so many different people from different walks of life, faiths, beliefs.
Yeah.
And for me, it's been able to see people who either aren't like me or aren't from the culture that I live in and that I've grown up in. And so it's been fun to learn different things from other people and see how they attack life and what their goals are and what they do every day. And it's just been amazing to be in rooms. I mean, about a year ago, I was at a breakfast in Florida. I was at a charity gala, and I'm sitting at breakfast, and across from me is Vince Carter,
Oh,
and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I want a fanboy, but when you're there for business,
yeah.
it's a different level. So I just listened to them have conversations and
Mm.
talked with them, and I watched Vince Carter tee off at the start of the golf tournament, and it's just been super fun and a whirlwind to be able
Wow.
to be in a space with influencers and celebrities and other people.
Mm. That is amazing. I think in an ever-growing world right now, it becomes so important to have connections
Yes,
because that's the only way I've noticed you get anywhere,
yeah,
like at all. And But on the other side, there's negatives. There's cons and pros to everything, especially with media
Yeah.
and public. Seeing as that's your job to deal with managing that negative space, how are you navigating that?
It's tough because I work in a space where I build the brand for people,
Mm,
not products, not objects. And so people, they have their values. I'll give you an example. Chris is a niche here in Utah because he went to BYU, graduated from BYU,
mm,
met his wife at BYU, goes to church every Sunday, doesn't drink, doesn't smoke. And so he fits into this realm where I live right here. But when I take him on to do podcasts or meet other people, I have to make sure to protect his name, protect
mm,
his value.
yeah,
And so, am I putting him in a place where people will question, why is Chris there?
yeah,
Or am I putting him in a place where he can connect with people and excel? And so, for me, it's about studying and researching. And the thing is, you're going to meet people who are different, but everyone has something that they can teach. And so, it's finding that balance of we want to connect with other people, but we also want to be able to protect what we believe and what we stand for.
mm. And how do you, well, for those people that are then spending their time like trying to tear people down, like how does one navigate that? Because you just said, I love that you said you work with building people.
Yeah.
It's not the product that you're building, it's the person. So for those, how do I or those listening, how do you manage your personal brand in a way that helps you to navigate those?
So first thing I would say is you got to have a tough skin. You got to be able to understand that if you look at the universe, there is a law that states that with every negative, there'll be a positive. But that also means
Yeah.
with every positive, there's going to be a negative.
Mm,
And so you have to understand that there's a balance.
mm,
So if you post something on social or speak somewhere or even share this podcast episode, you'll have a person who's cheering it on and celebrating it.
yeah.
And this is amazing.
Mhm.
But that also means there's someone somewhere in the universe that's like, that episode sucked.
Yeah.
That post sucks. I hate it. I hate you. And so
Mm,
for me, it's the big thing is understanding there's a balance. That's the number one thing is understanding there's a balance. Number two, understanding that you have people that are just trolling the troll. That's what
yeah.
they wake up to do. They live in their mother's basement somewhere. They have nothing else in their life to do to tear people down. And so one of the things that I've learned is I've seen a few influencers who they actually will pick maybe once a week one negative comment. They'll message that person and just say, "Thank you. I wish you the
Oh,
best."
oh wow.
Because those people are looking to get something from you. And as soon as you respond or attack or go back
Yeah.
and forth in the comments, that person is won. But if you're in a space
Interesting.
where you want to see them win, you want to win, and you celebrate them, it removes all the power from them and their whole perspective changes.
Oh wow. So like picking out one comment and directly talking to that
Yep.
person, like thank you,
Yep.
and I
Send
wish
them
you
a
the best. Like,
DM, however you want to do it. You could do a voice message. You could even do a video message and just say, my big thing is thank you because you've helped the engagement of my post, first of all, by commenting.
yeah,
See, they don't understand that Instagram doesn't say, oh, negative or positive
yeah,
comment. It just says if people are engaging with this post,
yeah.
that's going to get more traction. And so my big thing is thank you. You've helped me.
Smart.
Yes.
Genius, actually.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow, okay.
yeah. So it's like look at the system, and you learn to hack the system, and you don't get stuck in these traps that people are trying to pull you in
Mm,
and get you to go back and forth in the fight. And I'm like, why? Because the biggest thing when I go on podcasts, when I meet with people, I'm my authentic self, and I tell
yeah,
people, you'll either love me
yeah,
or you'll hate me.
yep.
Regardless, that's me, and you can take it as it is.
Mm,
And so those who love me and I surround myself with, I will do everything for those people,
yeah.
and I will make sure that I do what I can to help them win. And if they don't want to, that's their loss.
Do you feel that like it's a sense of validation because there are people like who will actively comment negative things. Like that's what they do is
Yeah.
comment negative things. Is that validation? Is what is the point? What do you think is the point of that?
They are looking for attention.
Mm,
They're lonely, they have their own struggles in their life going on, and they want attention, and they're like, "The only way I can do it is I need to make fun of someone or
mm,
make a comment, and now everyone's talking to me, and, oh my gosh, look at this comment and everything."
yeah.
And so for me, it's like, why? Why let that person win? Honor them, thank them for helping you, and let them go about their day.
Yeah. I think that this for me, my dad would always tell me this. Growing up, I struggled a little bit with, I mean, I was an extrovert, but I still struggled with relations with other people. And my father told me something about how The only time you give power to someone else is when you react.
Yeah.
No matter what the reaction is, when you react, you've lost.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same concept that comes to this when it comes to social media.
Well, let me give an example for
Yeah.
you. Think about how many times you have been at Vasa Fitness playing basketball with a complete bum, and that dude gets in your head and pisses you off,
Yeah.
and you do something out of character, but
Mhm.
you reacted.
Yeah.
You know, and I know that that kid is not on your level
Yeah.
at all. Because you're in that space, he's now on the same level as you where you're playing. Anyone has access there, and he's gotten that reaction out of you. Now that kid has won.
Mm.
And so even that example of even when we, simple as playing a pickup game of basketball, you can see it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Is you give them a reaction and then they win and then they run with
Oh, that's really interesting. I think I love how that fits. It makes a lot of sense. And I mean, if your sole purpose and goal in life is to tear people down, I'm sorry.
it. Yeah.
I genuinely am sorry for you. But speaking on the terms of social media,
Yeah.
on your Instagram profile, in your bio, you have I call them four Fs. I don't know. You have the family, faith, fitness, finance.
Yeah.
Let's focus a little bit on faith.
Okay.
Um, what does that look like to you?
Faith for me is believing in the things that I know to be true.
Mm.
I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints,
Yep.
and so with that comes the my value system and my beliefs and the things that I will do, the things that I don't do, but also the thing that I've in my studying and as I've gotten older, what I've learned is in my faith and my beliefs, that also means that I'm not perfect.
Mm.
And I need to know that there's going to be mistakes and I'm going to have slip ups.
Yeah.
And, but that's what this life is here is to grow and to become better each day.
Yeah.
And so, one step forward, two steps back, three steps forward, whatever that journey looks like, it's embracing that journey. And so for me, faith is also understanding that there are other religions and beliefs out there. And it may not be my religion, but I believe there's something good that I can take from each religion. There's something good that I can learn from it. And rather than look down on these other religions and, oh no, you're awful this, I'm like, what can I learn from you?
Yeah.
How can I apply that to my life? And how does that align with my principles? I sat down with a buddy the other day and we compared being LDS to being Muslim.
Mm.
And we
Wow.
look at how their strict dress code that they have
Yeah.
in the Muslim faith. Well, we have the law of chastity.
Yep.
Look at how strict at what they can eat and what they can't. We have the word of wisdom.
Mm.
And so there's a lot of things that actually make us similar that we don't even look at
Yeah.
when we focus mainly on the things that make us different. And so that's the thing for me has been just reshaping on how do I view other faiths, other religion, and how do they align with mine?
Yeah. I think I love that. And I feel if I can add to that is the sense of faith isn't necessarily, I don't know if this is going too far in a stretch, but I feel like faith doesn't isn't connected to a religion, it's connected to a divine being. If that's God for you, if that's someone else. But I think a lot of people miss the mark when you say I have faith in the Church of Jesus, for example, the Church of Jesus Christ. That's wrong. In
Yeah.
my opinion, I think that's wrong. I don't think you have faith in the church. It's you have faith in God and what the church is teaching you how to worship Him.
Yes.
And I feel like that's just what faith is finding that belief system that works for you to feel like you are worshiping your creator
Yeah.
in a sense.
Yeah.
And so for you then, because you've been so all over, like you haven't been restrained to Utah,
Yeah.
what's that look like outside of Utah?
I want you to picture going from Orem, Utah to Miami, Florida. Drinking, parties, bars, strip clubs, all of this.
Yeah.
So it's being able to step into an environment where there's so many different temptations and things you want to go do and try and understanding like, hey, here's what I believe, but also creating relationship with the people there that they respect your beliefs
Mm.
and what you stand for, and they don't put you in those situations. If I'm at a table and they're offering me alcohol, hey, I don't drink, they respect that.
Yeah.
There's no peer pressure to, no, you need to drink or, hey, let's go to a strip club. Well, no, that's not what I do. And you don't go. I remember when I was a freshman in college, this might get me in trouble. I drove up to Salt Lake with a bunch of buddies. They were at the U playing lacrosse. I had a few of my buddies who played on the football teams. Um, and we go up to Salt Lake, and everyone wanted to go to a strip club. And we drive to the strip club in Salt Lake, and I go to get out, and one of my buddies, big Polynesian, he grabs me and slams me against the car, and he says, "You're going on a mission, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes." Get back in the car. So I sat in the car the entire time they were inside.
Wow.
And
That's a friend.
yeah,
That's
and
wow.
I was like, this dude was holding me accountable, and he knew, that's what I wanted to do. But you're young, you're first time at college, you're away from your parents, the rules, the restrictions. You want to go and do these things. But I'll never forget that night because it was like just this jolt of no, you're not going. Sit down.
Yeah.
Um, and so for me, also, I think is who do you surround yourself with? Do they help you honor your values and your faith, or do they push against it? And if they push against it, then maybe you need some new friends.
Mm, mm. I think that's really important. I think that's hard though.
Yeah,
I feel like that's really hard to look at someone who genuinely, like, there are some great people who are not part of the church. They're part of their other faith. They live different lives. Generally amazing people.
yeah,
It's really hard to look at someone and go, I mean, there's nothing wrong with you. You're just not living what I'm living.
yeah.
So we just can't associate. How do you navigate that? How are you creating those relationships still without doing their lifestyle?
It's I've had to remove some people from my life,
Mm,
which is never easy to do. It's difficult. You don't want to do it, but it's been necessary for the development of where I want to go and what I want to achieve. But also, it's along. Not only is it values, but you'll find people who just not going anywhere in life,
mhm,
and it's like you're pulling me back. You're holding me back. Like
mhm,
I'm trying to get here, and I want people that motivate me, uplift me, and help me. And so for me, it's hard conversations. And the thing is, if people respect you and honor you, they understand where you're coming from. And that might be about friends like, oh my gosh, she's right. Maybe I need to change my life. But I think also it's being able to call your friends out when they're slipping up and allowing them to call you out and not being offended.
yep. Hey, I like that. I like that a lot. And I think this is the age to do it.
Yeah.
I feel like as you get older, it just I mean, it's not like you're creating new friendships. It's more now like professional networking
Yeah.
that you're doing. And so I feel like as at my age in college is kind of the time to do that and establish that base and that foundation. Despite going being a student at Brigham Young University, like despite what the world might think of
Yeah.
BYU,
Oh, yeah.
it's not this like holy like people
Oh,
that are
no.
walking around
No,
campus.
no,
Like
no. The
it's
BYU students are some of the
it's
worst.
it's not at all not that. And so because of that, it's like you have to realize that sometimes it is okay to go, look, you're great and I wish you luck,
Yeah.
but no thanks.
So let
Like,
me ask you a question.
yeah,
Since this is open dialogue,
yeah,
um, we're going to go a little deep right now.
of course.
You look at your life and the people you've met and your situation at Brigham Young University.
Mhm.
Let's say you were to do everything you've done, but if you were not black, what do you think? Would you have the same friends you do now? Would you have the same experience you have now?
If I wasn't black, but I was to do everything over again
Hmm.
that I've done at BYU.
Hmm. Now, some of those
Ooh,
opportunities may not be there.
I don't think so. I honestly don't think so. I think that I feel like I say 50% of my friends would probably stay the same just
Okay.
because those were unavoidable, like that was gonna happen.
Yeah.
But I say the other 50%, I don't think so.
Why?
And
Why is that?
I honestly think, like being very direct, I honestly think it's because of my background
Okay.
and the fact that I am an African American at
Okay.
a predominantly white school.
Okay.
I feel like because I am who I am, it's easier. I feel like people are more intrigued. There's more intrigue in
Yes.
something that's different.
Yes.
And so, like, for instance, we always talk about the blonde hair, blue eyes. Like, everyone here has it. Like, so when you see someone that doesn't fit that category, but yet is almost the same, I feel like wherever I go, I try to be a light.
Yeah.
And so, but so does everyone else.
Yeah.
But what's different about me is I'm African.
Yeah.
I don't look the same as you.
Yeah.
And so, because of that, it's like that intrigues me. And I think that is why I have some of my friends that I do today, which is fine. Like they're great people, and I've enjoyed those friendships. But if I was white, I don't think that I would stand out
Yeah.
like I do now. I think I'd just be mingled in
Just one
with
amongst the crowd.
one amongst the crowd,
Okay.
which I would not like.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's how I'd answer that question. But
Okay.
it's I love BYU. I love the school. Great education, great friends that I've come to have. Um, but it's not as like crazy as people say it is
Yeah.
outside of Utah. Simple as that. And on the term of faith and stuff, there's a very great Jay-Z lyric
Okay.
in your profile that
Yes, sir.
says, "Put me anywhere on God's green earth, I'll triple my worth."
Yes, sir.
Jeff, what does that look like to you?
I when you go into business, you go into life, you start going into rooms and meeting people, and you're looking on how can I make money? How can I do business? What can I take from this person? And I had this shift about a year ago, which is like every room I go into, every person I meet, how can I give? How can I serve? There's a different energy that you get in life when you give and when you serve people than when you're just trying to take. And so for
Mm,
me, that's my biggest thing is every room I enter, how can I add value to that room? Regardless of whether, business actually gets done or anything, I want to enter a room, I want to give, I want to serve, and I want to help whoever I come across.
do you think it's possible to be completely selfless? Because I feel like there's always something to be gained. I feel like it's just how human nature works. There's always something to be gained. And so do you think it's possible to be 100% selfless?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think I think yes and no. At
Okay.
the end of the day, you always have your needs, your wants, but at the same time, you there is an energy and a time and a space to serve, to give. There's a time for everything.
Yeah.
And so I think you can't spend your whole life focusing on others. You do
Okay.
need to spend time. I tell people you need to be able to connect within your relationships,
Yeah.
connect with your family, connect with God, and connect with yourself. But
Okay.
also it's that balance of also being able to give to other people.
Mm.
And so I think the biggest thing for me is not giving too much energy to one and
Okay.
neglecting the other.
Okay. I feel like I want to say that it is not. Like, I feel like I want to take a full 2-foot leap into the fact that it's not, because I feel like selfish, the word selfish to me, it can be negative or it can be positive. I don't think there's, because I think people use the word as selfish as always a negative
Yeah.
connotation. I don't think actually sometimes it's negative at all to be
No.
selfish. Like you said, like um, there are certain things that you need to look out for yourself or you will get hurt or whatever that means. And so to me, I would say that like everything you do, it's not about are you being selfish or not? It's about who's benefiting.
Yes.
Is it just me benefiting from me being selfish,
Yeah.
or am I being selfish because I'm helping others that are
So
around me?
let me give you an example, especially with you being in college. Look, when we're kids, what do we hear from our parents all the time? No, no, no. No's the response. We move out of our house, and then suddenly, let's say you go to college. Now you want to say yes to everybody
Mm,
because it's like, I'm so fun. Yes, do
yeah,
this. Yes. Oh, hey, this attractive girl. I just met her. Yes. You go from being told no and no's and the only thing you hear to suddenly you become a yes man. You want to say yes to everything.
yeah,
Then you start to shift on, oh my word, this is real life.
yeah.
This I gotta pay a mortgage. I gotta pay car payments. I have medical bills to pay. I'm no longer on my parents' car insurance. And so when those things start to hit, then you realize, wait a second, there's a balance that needs to be between saying no and saying yes.
Mhm,
It's okay to tell people no.
yeah,
It's okay to protect your time and give your time to those who you've promised it to, but also, those times that you do need to say yes.
mm,
And so I look at the human life and it's like this cycle of no, 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 yes, yes, yes. Wait a second. Now we're starting to think about,
yeah,
okay, yes here, no here. And so that's the thing that I love is when you study humans and you study the universe, you study the way that our lives exist and the way that we grow, you understand that, okay, wait a second. Now I'm in a spot where I do need to protect my time. But then when you look at people who they've become successful, have raised their kids are out of the house, they've made their money. What do they do now? They start to say yes all the time
Yeah.
because now they start charities, they start giving and everything.
Mhm.
But it's that cycle that we go through in life.
Do you think that because there are people who might argue and say that okay, if like I don't know, we'll go a little deeper into this because I want to be super specific. But I had a conversation with a friend the other day who I mean, he was going through quite a lot and was under the impression that he was meant to suffer and that
Mhm.
he did like there was things that he's meant to suffer because that he's like kind of in a nonchalant like I'll just suffer through it and get through it. How do you feel about that?
I think so. For me and my faith, I believe that we are here on earth to be more like Jesus, to be more like God. And when people say, I want to be like Jesus, and you study his life, it's like, wait a second, Jesus suffered,
Mm,
but he also had moments where he didn't.
yeah.
And so when you look at life, it's like, you want all of the good side, but you don't want the suffering. And so it's understanding that, hey, guess what? If you're really trying to be like him and you want to walk in his shoes and do what he did, you do have to suffer.
Mm,
It has to happen. But if you also have to understand, but there also is an end to the suffering. But it's how do you endure it? How do you embrace it? And so for me, I've had to learn to understand that life is going to be hard.
mm,
It is going to be tough. But every time there's a rainstorm, there's a rainbow at the end.
mm,
And you look at a fire. You can burn yourself and injure yourself,
mhm,
or you can use it to make food. You can use it to
mm,
keep
yeah.
yourself warm. And so it's always for me, it's the perspective of how you look on what you're going through and understanding, for this friend, okay, they're suffering, but are they only focusing on the negatives and what's causing that suffering? Or are they looking for, well, if there's really a balance, then if I'm suffering, there's also a positive that I need to find.
Mm,
And it's just a way of looking at things, but we get so set in our ways and stuck that that's all we're focused on, and we can't find anything else. And so it's forcing yourself to look outward and understand there's more than just this little thing that I'm seeing.
yeah. I think that's kind of the something that is I love that you used the analogy of fire. I think we find that in every scenario.
Yeah.
Like basketball is something I play a lot. That's what I do. And because of that, like it's great to go like watch basketball and see all these dunks and like windmills and threes. But you have to understand those athletes struggled before they could even do
Oh,
that.
dog. Real quick side note before you finish that statement. I took a buddy to a Jazz game, and we're on the fourth row and we're watching the players, and he's like, "Wait a second, this player's doing that. Why can't we do this in pickup?" I'm like, "My dude, we're a bunch of bums in Utah County. These are professional NBA players." But he kept comparing different things that happened at our pickup games to the players we're seeing on the court. And I'm like, there is nothing the same here. The only thing, I may be black and that player may be black, and that's about it. Because my man, I'm like, you must be outside your mind if you think. But it was just funny to see him make these comparisons. And I'm like, if you knew what an athlete actually goes through day to day and the preparation that it takes mentally and physically
Yeah.
to get to the game where he's actually dunking.
Yeah.
It's not an easy road.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. It's literally that's the reason why you see like athletes will lift and run and sometimes even do things without a basketball in their hand for
Yeah,
like the entire practice.
yeah.
And then they go out there and perform. And I think that's the same thing we carry over. And I love that you said that like little side note because I realize that it's a little bit like life where you're going through something, I'm going through something, and then we're looking at comparing what we're going through
Yeah.
when we are not on the same level.
No, no.
Where your struggle and your trial, you could live in the same house as a person going through that struggle and trial.
Exactly.
It's different levels.
Yeah.
And I think that's something to keep in mind when it comes to like trying to navigate suffering or trials or whatever it may be. But in your life, what has then kept you grounded? What has kept you grounded when going through those trials?
I I think I have a really, really good friend group,
Mm,
a circle that I keep around me that I can reach out, I can talk to if I need. I'm super close with my family, and so I talk to like especially in terms of business, I talk to my dad almost every day,
mm,
and he helps me, walks me through it. Um, I think it's just what are the pillars of your foundation that help support you when times get hard, when the storm is beating on that foundation? If you have those pillars in your life, it keeps the foundation afloat. And so for me, it's just finding those pieces. I mean, I have a life coach that I've hired. I'm in a coaching group. I have spiritual coach I work with. I have a human behavior specialist I work with. I have a personal training coach. I have a nutrition coach. These are all people that and it costs me an investment, but these are all people I've put in my life to help me and to help that balance.
Mhm. I like that a lot. I was trying to see if I could find here the next few questions for you. Because we do have that open.
Uh-oh, someone submitted the question?
Oh yeah, we got two questions.
Okay.
Got two different questions for you. But before we even get to that, I had one more thing that I want to get your opinion on.
Okay.
Because you are in Utah and you are black. This is a concept, and I told my friend I would bring it up talking to you. Do you feel when we come to the term racism,
Yes.
do you feel like that is more or less here in Utah specifically?
Hmm. I think I think racism exists everywhere. I think in Utah, being a minority, we look through a different lens than other people. If we were white, I'm sure we wouldn't view it through the same lens, right?
Yep.
And so the thing for me is, I don't know so much if it's a big thing about racism here in Utah more than it's people are just not as cultured. They haven't come left the Utah bubble. They haven't been out to other states and cultures. And so people don't know what they don't know.
Yep.
And so with that comes a little bit of, there's some ignorant statements that are made, there's questions that get asked, there's things done that they may not intend to be racist and it can offend people, but it's because they're just not educated on it. And so for me, it's really been a shift in thinking, okay, what is this person's story? And understanding, okay, where are they from? Where have they been? What is their intentions? And that's where I balance of, okay, this is something that's racist versus this is just someone who's not educated and just completely ignorant.
Yeah. I talked to my friend and he said that like when we were talking about this, he was like, "There's nothing." He said a statement that I never really didn't sit well with me. He said, "There's nothing we can do because we're just one person." And I've been thinking about it. And do you think that one person, do you think that one person can fight this? Because I feel like in the world we live in, everyone's just constantly changing opinions and there's new things coming up.
So for me, it's about narrative and making statements and doing things that people remember. Let me give you an example. What's your favorite color?
Sunset orange. It's like the
Okay.
soft orange.
Okay, so ask me my favorite color.
What's your favorite color?
So my favorite football team is the Baltimore Ravens. I was born in Maryland. Um, and so with that team, one of their colors is purple. And so I've loved the color purple and it's just become one of my favorite colors.
Mm,
Now, if someone watching this episode and they were listening to these two things, they're going to remember my color first. Why? So I put a story with it. There was
yeah.
narrative behind it. And so if I go to someone and I say, stop racism, and I walk away, it doesn't sit well. But if I can go to someone and be like, here's the reason why we need to stop racism, because here's how it affected me. And I go into a personal story or an experience and I let them view it through my lens and understand and let them walk in my shoes, then you can make an impression on the person because they may forget what you said, they may forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
Mhm,
And so that's why when you put narrative behind it, it reaches a person's heart and he or she's soul. It reaches their
mhm.
soul. And by doing that, now it starts to make impressions and it reaches other people. And so I think one person can attack it, but it goes back to how do you relate that message to someone so that they can understand it? Is it just a super simple statement? I love blue. No, I love blue because of this. And this is what it means to me. This is how it's impacted my life. And then you look that person in the eyes and they understand and they can read the body language. And now you've reached that one person. And that one person, they could pass on and they could call out someone out when they see something. And then it's like a domino effect. So you yourself may not be able to touch all of the people, but if you can impact one person's life, then that person will do the same thing, and then it just starts to spread.
Mm, That's amazing. I think that's so true because i- if we look back at every movement that has ever occurred, civil rights, any movement, it started with one individual
Yeah.
doing something because they have a direct effect. They have a direct influence on it. Like I
Yes.
think back on like Rosa Parks and the bus. Like she decided to do something by herself that would affect just her
Yeah.
to show that, look, this is how it's affecting me and this is what I'm going to do about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's how we approach a lot of different scenarios in the world today.
Yeah.
And I wanted to use that real quick to also transition into because something I really love. In the previous episode with Yahosh Bonner, we talked about family
Yeah.
and the importance of family.
Yes.
And so for you, your family, like what is one lesson? What takeaway have you taken from your family?
Ooh, that's a deep one. For me, I think the biggest thing is understanding that within a family unit, you will have people that love each other, they support each other, but yet they're all so very different
Mm,
with their wants, their needs, their understanding, their beliefs, and understanding that when you look at the family, is that's how God's family operates, and you look at the world, is that you can all be different, but still be a family.
yeah,
You can all have different beliefs and still be a family. And so for mine, the biggest lesson has been no matter what could divide us, we still come back as that family unit. We still, gather together as family and do things as family. And we have in a month or so, we have a family reunion coming up. And, at the family reunion, you have people who are different religions, different faiths, doing different things, different sexual orientations. But yet, at the end of the day, it's still family.
yeah. It's still family. I love that. Love that a lot. And so to kind of come full circle now, um, we've kind of talked about faith. We've talked about a little bit of your job and what you do. I kind of want to wrap it up and say, what message would you have for those who are trying. Like, I mean, I don't even want to give a restriction to you, like whatever you feel inspired to share.
Okay.
But what would you like to say to those listening this and now having known a little bit more about Jeffrey Mann?
I think for me, the biggest thing I could teach people is look to form relationships and look to give. If we're always looking to self-serve, um, whether it's in business, whether it's in faith, wherever it may be, um, it it doesn't sit well with people. And so the biggest thing that I've learned is no matter what a person may look like, how I may judge them or feel about them, I want to still have a conversation with that person because guess what? There's something I can learn from them.
Yeah.
No matter their age, no matter their background. Um, I used to be a people watcher and I'd find myself at Vasa or EOS looking at people, making fun of people.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why? This is a normal person.
Yeah.
Because guess what? No matter how much money that person has or I have, at the end of the day, we're both going to die and
Mm,
that money's not going with us.
Facts.
And so death is the one thing that makes us all equal
Mm,
because we can't take our possessions, we can't take anything with us.
Yeah.
And so it's really about which people did I meet, learn from, and impact while I was here on earth? For me, is I guess the legacy I have. My lifelong goal is I want to impact a billion lives. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. I don't know why I wanted to do it, but it kept coming to my mind, and so something I've worked for. And so anyone who sees me is I talk to people all the time, everywhere I go, and have conversations and stuff. And then see, for me in my job and what I do, my biggest set is the relationships and network that I have. And so I'm always looking, who can I connect here? Who can I link here? Who can I introduce here? How will that help that person? And so, I think for me, it's really just focus on authentic relationships.
I love that. I love that a lot. And so to wrap out the episode, we have our little open question segment
Okay.
that I put on my social and I said, hey, throw in some questions. It can be deep, it can be nonchalant, it can be whatever you want to ask that I should ask Jeff. And we have two ones that I just picked, both anonymous. and one's super deep and one is
Uh-oh.
not even deep at all. So
Okay.
which one you want?
Let's go the not deep one.
Not deep one first. Okay. Question is, if you had to eat one food or dish daily for the rest of your life, what would it be?
My brother, you know it's some fried chicken.
Yeah.
You know it's some fried chicken.
But like
Sure.
homemade or like a specific place?
Who's cooking it?
I don't even know, bro. For me, it'd be like my mom.
Here's the
It could
thing.
be grandma. It could be like mom. Who knows?
Is it the same recipe every time?
Same recipe every time.
It'd be some fried chicken. It'd be some fried chicken. Dude.
That's nice. That's nice. All right. All right. Agree with that. In fact, I might just have fried chicken
You know
right
what I'm
now.
saying? I'm like, where that Popeyes? Shoot.
Okay. All right. There you go. Jeff says fried chicken. Okay.
Hey, and real quick, make a comment down below. I want to know what is the go-to fried chicken place for people? Popeyes,
Mm,
KFC, is it Cane's? Because I be seeing them 2 hour lines, and I don't. I'm
it's the
like,
sauce. It's the sauce.
but that sauce ain't worth it. Get some chicken and some ranch. You never go wrong without no chicken and no ranch. I'm please. I'll go to Macy's and get that fried chicken before I'm waiting 2 hour line for some yellow fake fry sauce. Y'all people crazy. Go up to Jack in the Box in Salt Lake and get some fried chicken.
There we go. Yeah, but make sure to comment down below. Um, but here's the last. This next one is, how do you define happiness,
Okay.
and have you found it?
Woo-hoo-hoo. Have I found it? When a question like that, I think of the song from Charlie Brown. Happiness is morning and evening. It's daytime and nighttime. It's everything. Um, for me, I happiness, I think, is doing or finding something that fulfills you.
Mm,
I have my mom loves to do family history.
mm,
She loves to go to the temple. For her, that is happiness. That's their happy space. My dad loves to go out and hike in nature and ride an electric bike and mountain bike. For him, that could be his happiness.
yeah.
He loves to, be around his kids and see what we're doing and how we're excelling. And so for that could be happiness. For me, my place to think and get away is to go to the gym and to work out.
Mm,
And so that could be my place of happiness. I think for each individual person, there's a place that it's not. I wouldn't say it's home, and I wouldn't say it's your job. I call it the third space. There's that third space in your life that everyone goes to where they just escape from the world
mm,
and they're away from everything. And the thing is, you could be working through some hard things while you're in that space and emotions being brought up, but they're going to be happy at some point.
yeah.
And so for me, I think happiness is just finding that space where you find where you're fulfilled, where you could be doing whatever. And um it's not an every moment thing for me. It's there's highs and lows, there's ups and downs, but I have that time and that place where I can be really happy, I can be really sad, and they balance each other. So that I mean that's a great question because I think if I were to say I'm happy all the time, that's not me being authentic. I mean, you look at our lenses, African Americans, Africans, whatever type of minority you are in Utah. I mean, I deal with offensive looks, gestures, actions every day.
Mm.
And if I were to let that be my life and overtake me, I would never be happy. But it's a small moment that may happen in a day, in a week, in a month. And I have all these other things where I'm fulfilled and I'm doing what I love and I can excel at. And that's where I find my happiness.
It's awesome. I agree completely with that. I think that the only way you can be happy despite anything negative happening in your life is if you are indeed doing something you're passionate about,
Yeah.
that you love. And so, Jeffrey, I just want to say thank you so
No,
much.
thank you for
I
having me.
appreciate you for coming on. And we've talked and if again, please make sure that you listen to this podcast, listen over and over because there's a lot of gems that have been said. We've talked a lot from publicity all the way to your personal brand, all the way to faith. And so there's a lot in here. Um, Jeffrey, where can they find you on?
So just hit the Instagram, it's Jeffrey Man underscore.
Yeah,
And just follow. I drop content at least twice a day and it's just authentic conversations like we just had. And we're real, we're honest. You may love it, you may hate it, but just give it a listen.
there we go. That's awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to Open Dialogue on wherever you watch or listen to this podcast. Your participation is crucial because it helps us connect with viewers and listeners like you. If you'd like to be featured on the Open Question segment and have your question potentially asked to our guest, make sure that you follow us on Open Dialogue Podcast on Instagram. And you can follow me as well on my personal page at Osime Official. But on those stories, we'll be posting every day when we have guests, and you'll be able to participate like that. Please don't forget to share our podcast with your friends and family. And remember that this has been Open Dialogue, the podcast where every voice matters. Until next time, keep the dialogue open. Thanks, guys.